Welcome back to this extra large Thought Vessel episode where we are going into some fan related questions. I'm Levi.
I'm Jacoby.
And I'm Joe.
And this is the Thought Vessel's 50th episode. Welcome to the show. As we were saying in the intro here, we are on episode 50, going on this for about 2 years here. So we decided we're going to have the fans submit some questions and we're going to answer them for our show. So I'm very excited to hop into these questions. Of course, thank you so much for listening. I know some of you have been here since episode 1. Very excited to have this continue. And thank you for those that were able to write in and submit those questions, because obviously we wanted to answer as many questions of you as we can. We've got a list of about 20 questions here, so we're just going to jump right in.
Going right in and telling me that it's going to be an extra large episode already. My poor time.
It's what the people want.
Is it?
Yes, they want your time.
Nom 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 nom
All right.
nom 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 nom.
I'm eating it.
So
I'm eating your time.
Starting out with a pretty simple one here. What is your favorite color pair, and wedge, and why?
I can't help but notice that it wasn't just color combination. That I couldn't just tell you it's Wooperg.
And my guess is that might have been intentional, and that's really funny.
It's so rude.
Joe, why don't you start off?
I'm pretty sure that my favorite color, and it has been changing over the years, but I'm pretty sure it has settled into just blue. And specifically on the blue side, not so much the control or counter, but the cloning aspect and the copying aspect. It has been told to me by my friends that have taught me Magic that I have become the reddest blue player that they have ever known, which then leads into the second part of that, which is definitely going to be Izzet. If I'm going to be the reddest blue player of all time, I'm going to have an Izzet color combo. And then for the triple, for the longest time, I thought it was Teamer. I have definitely gone more towards Grixis as time has gone on, and definitely embraced a little bit more of the black side of the entire color pie, but specifically because there are very interesting things that you can do within there, given like Evelyn and the steelies of that. There's just so many steelies that you can do in Grixis, and that's why it's become pretty much my favorite wedge.
All right, we'll keep it rolling. I'll take the next one here. So, as people know, I'm very much a blue player. I will absolutely use counter spells and draw spells and try to collect as much information as I possibly can. From blue, of course, we go to Glorious Azorius. I love having my blue and white, having the ability to answer any problem that comes up at the table. All that value, that's where all the good blink stuff is. Definitely a big fan of that combination. And then, as of late, Simic has been creeping up into that favorite 2-color combination as well, because I've been having a lot of fun with my 6 Doctor deck. So the 3-color combination would probably, from there, go to Bant. Was Esper for a while, but I have been having a lot of fun with green as of late. I would probably go blue to Azorius to Bant.
Levi and I just traded off the colors.
My favorite mono color, I would probably say, is red. It has the most interesting version of a lot of things. You can still draw cards with caveats. You can counter spells with caveats. You can do funny, interesting things like redirecting spells, just straight up thunderbolting a bird, all the good jazz. My favorite 2-color combination would probably have to be either Boros or Gruul Business. Just adding more big stompy on top of it is very, very akin to my heart. Anytime you go, my creature's bigger, and I go, but mine is bigger, is funny. And then transitioning into getting the other color I miss, which is getting to Naya. I like interesting big stompy. Naya doesn't necessarily ooze interesting, but it is fun, big stompy typically. You can do interesting things in the space. There are some commanders that do stuff you would never think too hard about because it's just very simple baseline, but you can do some really creative stuff with.
As a person who has a very powerful Naya list, I can definitely say you can definitely do some interesting things with it.
I think my most interesting deck I've ever owned that was difficult to pilot was my Paladin deck that focused on enchanting other people's stuff. Not something you normally think about in Naya.
Of the shards, it might have the most diverse commander pool.
That's the big thing I care about, is that it's diverse.
We'll get on to the next question. The next one is, why did we decide to start the podcast? I'll kind of answer from everyone's individual perspective because we all kind of came in at different points in time. I am a very creative person. I'm not a very artistic person. So I wanted to be able to produce something into the world. And I really like listening to podcasts. I wanted to give it a try myself. Jacoby, I'll let you speak for yourself, but I think you were in the kind of the same state of mind. So we kind of wanted to get that started. We wanted to have a third person because we thought the 3-person dynamic would be good. And then at that point, we had to recruit Joe in, who said he wanted to be temporary. And then that never happened. So he's still here.
It's crazy. I'm still here.
I absorb. I'm taking this, Joe. Don't bother sending an Amber Alert. You're not getting it back.
Amber Alert.
Jacoby, why did you want to start the podcast?
Kind of in the similar vein. I had a lot of ideas. I had a lot of yapping, and Levi and I used to spend hours and hours and hours talking about just mechanics of magics, ideas, concepts, what we wanted to do for our community, how we could offer something to people because we love this game and we love the community we have, however big, however small it is. And when you can spend this much time talking about something to try and generate a conversation or to convey a lot of information, keep people up on the up, or just make people laugh, it's important to foster that community. That's why I got into it.
Good answer. Joe?
So I got into it because these chuckle fucks asked me to. I stayed because I love the act of talking and creating, and I got to be very creative with the editing. Since we did start originally as sound only, we had since then transferred towards video. And while it is still a very basic video, I take pride in trying to still keep people invested by showing what cards are, getting very creative with the titles of each segment that we go through, because if you've been paying attention to those, then I've done at least a little bit of my job. This all pretty much spawned from going from voice acting and just wanting to be in the creative mindset. Also combine that with my favorite game. It's tattooed on my arm. Why not?
Yo, same.
We'll shift here to kind of the next part of the question. Technically a different one is, why is your show called The Thought Vessel? So when I initially pitched the idea to Jacoby, I literally went to EDH Rec and looked at like top 100 most popular cards in Commander. The Command Zone was one, and Spike Feeders was based off a card name and stuff. I kind of want to use like a Magic card that's more commonly known, which we actually called ourselves the Thought Vessel Show when we first started out. Big reason for that is we wanted to be able to be searchable on Google. If you just put in the generic Thought Vessel for the longest time, it was just the card before we could actually get to the point that you could find us. So we had to add the show in there at that point. But originally I liked Mana Mailbag, where it was just going to be listener submitted content, and we would just answer those questions. We kind of went from that towards the Thought Vessel. I loved the name Guardian Project. I thought that would have been really cool for a podcast, but it was taken, unfortunately. We ended up with Thought Vessel, and I had it in as just a filler name. I was like, we'll just put this in for now. We can figure out something later. And Jacoby's like, no, I love it. So we kind of just stuck it from there. We wanted to add different segments. One we had thrown around was like a listener submitted one, penny for your Thought Vessel. But then we ended up just keeping the Thought Vessel as a whole, and it just kind of stuck ever since.
And that's the other reason why they brought me on. They needed the thought for the Thought Vessel, because otherwise they would have just been the vessel.
Ha, 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 ha. The reason I wanted it to be the Thought Vessel, when we were playing around with ideas, we were looking at, what would a name stand for? To me, I love the Thought Vessel, and I'm a man of double entendres, you see. I like having something that can have dual meanings. And to me, our podcast isn't just a container for information. It's a ship we ride together.
Originally, we talked a little bit for having the logo be kind of looking like a ship, but we ultimately decided we wanted to have it look kind of like a card. We actually met the artist, and it was awesome to kind of have him almost give the seal of approval for it. And like, it's like, oh, that's so cool. So that was a really cool experience, which we had MagicCon Las Vegas. We'll move on to the next part here. What keeps you coming back to the game? Jacoby, start this one off.
What keeps me coming back to the game? I'm going to state that it would probably have to be the community. It would have to be the world building, the gathering of friends and foes alike. We can come together, we can play this silly card game with its predefined rules, and then we adjust them as we go because the cardboard says so.
Joe?
I am such a brewer and love the different things that you can do within the game. Recently, I started brewing a lot more of Bracket 1 decks, and the one that I have been most proud of currently has been a deck that is just nothing but delicious in Dungeon. I brewed that deck down to the barest essentials of what that show is, and you could see it in every card I selected for that deck. And that's just an expansion of what I've done with decks in general. It's just, I love to brew decks. Even on Moxfield right now, since I have it open on the other screen, I still have 334 decks and growing, just because I love to build that many different kinds of decks to really challenge myself. Even the Boros Sephiroth that I brewed up was specifically a challenge from one of my friends to make Sephiroth kill Aerith.
Messed up and evil.
For me, similar to that, of course, saying that I'm a creative person, just not artistic, is I like being able to, when I'm playing a game, I want it to be played kind of my strategy. I think the worst board game of all time is like Chutes and Ladders, where you have no autonomy as far as what you're doing. It's just kind of, you roll a dice and then whatever happens, happens. Being able to build a 100 card commander deck of an exact strategy you want, and you have an access to a creature, you can make it as flavorful to your own design or the lore. It just kind of feels like the nexus from Ready Player One or something. You can do whatever you want. It's going to be always entertaining. Obviously, you probably need to switch up playgroups here and there just to keep things fresh. But if you run out of stuff to do in Commander, you're not doing it right. So that's what keeps coming back. What is the worst part of Magic? And I feel like we probably all have the same answer, but I'm curious to see what it is. We'll start with Jacoby.
It's definitely the price point. As we continue to develop into the future of Magic, we keep seeing sets go for ridiculous prices and singles go for ridiculous prices, and just so much extra advertising on stuff that should not have to cost as much as it does.
I think it's tough because you get to a point where I could fix my car, or I could buy more Magic cards, or I could put money in like my kid's college fund or buy Magic cards. It's not just that this is a side hobby thing. It's becoming like a legitimate decision every time, just because of the price of these things, where you're having to drop $1,000 to get a box of Magic at this point. It's really out of control. And it's really hard for Wizards to step up and say like, hey, we need to get this in check, because it's good for their sales and it's good for their business. And it's really hard to tell a corporation to go against their own interest.
Because my expanded answer from that is just the capitalism of it all. Because we could say that it's the price point, but we could have also had good price points for way more value as well. Sometimes you push the envelope because it's capitalism, and you'll see exactly how far you can push it until it comes crashing down. One of the biggest points for that was the 30th anniversary bundle, where it was 4 packs for $1,000 for non-tournament legal cards. There was so much pushback because that was the impetus to the end of a capitalist push.
Did you see that test card thing that's for sale right now?
Which one?
They were debating on doing like a gem encrusted layering on those cards. And the test sheet's for sale for like $250,000 right now.
That's ridiculous.
That was something that they were knocking around like, yeah, let's just literally embed gems into the card. Like just absolute crazy nonsense.
And it's the capitalism of it all.
I think they're trying to get more like the Pokemon collectors and stuff to come over. They push the market a lot. But for me, the worst part as of right now is the whole secret lair concept. Because you get these cards that you can only get through secret lair, and you're having to sit in line and refresh your phone or your computer for like 4 hours straight. And it's a coin flip if you're actually gonna be able to get in and get what you want. It's kind of 50-50. Or if you want a bunch of things, you only get like half of it or something. Like it's just not set up for success. It's a false scarcity. They could easily make it, we're going to have like a special edition stamp on it for like the first 10,000 sold. And then it's just going to be print to demand. And those will come out later for the rest or something. And then everyone gets what they want and everyone's paying the same price. It's not like it's ridiculously high amount. For me, the worst part is just the secret lair as a whole, because there are cards that I really want to have, like the Deadpool card. I super duper wanted it. I wanted Sonic the Hedgehog. And the only way to get those was through Secret Lair. You can't buy those in packs.
Yeah, so, I was that way about the Final Fantasy Secret Lair. And to this day, I am screaming with outrage about how they handled that entire layer. how stores handled that entire layer and how on multiple occasions it was just really messed up all across the board.
And it's really hard to not tell stores to make money, especially in this day where small businesses struggle.
It's the capitalism.
It's tough. The next one, if you could be on a token, what would it be? Start with you, Joe.
What? Man, that's crazy. I had actually been already done that because I commissioned Inkling Customs. Shout out to Jessie. She did a fantastic job. My co-hosts are currently seeing the token that I had commissioned. That is a copy token that has me and Prismari with all of the different kinds of setups of a stream camera, a computer to edit through, the microphone with scripts in the background, as well as a headset, because I'm that kind of person, given the fact that my primary strategy is to clone/steal things. What? A copy token? Makes perfect sense to me.
Let's go to Jacoby.
Oh boy. Are you ready to be shocked by nobody? Because the answer is very simple. The Goblin Wizard token.
I thought it'd be a bunny.
It would normally have been the bunny, but here's the thing. Krark is my spirit animal, okay? And what better way to demonstrate my spirit animal than to be like, yeah,
Losing in a thumb wrestle.
Losing a thumb wrestling contest and saying, yeah, I'm a wizard, but I still have prowess. No, I know that's monk tech. I don't care.
Though I could see it right now that the goblin also has bunny ears.
It's a goblin pretending to be a bunny. It's just instead of a regular goblin, instead of bunny ears, he just replaced his thumbs with bunny ears.
That is so dumb, and I love it.
For mine, it kind of goes between like, I have been playing a lot of stuff with copies lately, but I think ultimately I think I would want to do like a treasure token and a treasure token in some capacity. One of my more recent decks that I've been working on is Vihan Goldwaker. You turn treasures into dudes. Having a treasure token that actually has a person on it would be kind of nice. I'm using the treasure token from Explorers of Ixalan right now, or the Caverns of Ixalan, where it's the little statue, because they kind of look like people.
I'm actually shocked that it wasn't just you riding an owl as a 2/2 bird token.
That's true. The actual owl bird token is a 1/1. That being said, I think for me it's treasure token, because it's used a lot more in my decks and everything, and I have a lot of decks that care about treasure.
I'm sitting here thinking about it, and there's only two ways I would see you on a treasure token in my mind's eye. The first is the little idol that's just of you, and the second, I'm picturing your wife holding you up like a cat, just gesturing, look at this marvelous creature, and it's just observing you as a precious treasure.
And I love that neither of you are like, hey, it's Levi holding something valuable like a treasure. Like, no, it's Levi is the treasure.
And specifically, it is holding you up, and right there, right in the little word balloon, counterspell.
I'm going to have to draw that token for you now.
What is a dream card you want to own someday?
Time Twister. No holds barred, it's Time Twister. Would use it for CDH.
I'm kind of torn between two different cards, but if you just ask me card period, it's definitely the 77th serialized Chocobo. Chocobos as a creature, just a fantasy creature in general, have always been like the closest thing to my heart. I was very sad to never have the opportunity to really attempt to pull for it just because costs and such, but I would keel over to have that card.
For mine, it's a little bit less grandeur, but I would love to have the Jace the Mind Sculptor from Wizard of the Barge. I think it's just a really cool art. I think Jace is awesome. That is a very iconic Magic card. I use it in a deck currently that I would absolutely love to just slowly play it, or I don't know if I can bring myself to do it. It might just stay in my binder. I think that would, for me, it would be definitely the Wizard of Barge, Jace the Mind Sculptor. Next one, how do you feel about buying cards secondhand at really low/sketchy prices? Jacoby.
I personally try to avoid it, like 100%. Do not go near it if I can help it. I like cheaper cards, don't get me wrong. Listen, I like cheaper cards. Do not get me mistaken. But I've been in the situation, and you remember this. We had a mutual person who went around stealing cards. He sold them to LGS, and the LGS sold them for much, much cheaper because they kept getting them just dirt cheap. It drives my suspicion meter way too high. I don't want to have the argument of, that's my Gaia's Cradle you have that got stolen. And then you have to sit there and be like, but I bought it from this LGS. And now we have this awkward thing where I have a card that I paid money for. It's a mess I do not want to mess with.
The usual thing is, if a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is.
And going through LGSs too, it is tough. Like these are not very unique cards. Some people might get them altered by the artist or something like that, where it's a little bit easier to identify. Usually if someone gets caught, it's because it's a Magic card, but they got a top hat artist done to modify it. And then that's a way to identify like, oh, this is a stolen thing because no one else has that particular card whenever those happen. For me, usually if I'm buying at a lower price, it's usually through one of the websites that I either write for or something where I know them and they have a good reputation where I'm not having to worry as much about the sketchy prices. But for me, if I can get it at a slight deal, I'll take it. If it's too lower than that, I'm probably going to assume it's counterfeit. Then I'm not going to mess with it. I'm not going to buy a card from an individual. That's for sure. If I can avoid it, because normally the odds of it being fake at this point is just too high.
100%.
The exception to that rule is if you sat there with the person, they opened the card in front of you and they're just being generous, then sure, what suspiciously low be damned.
The next one, how often do you film?
Like this or outside of this?
I'm assuming they're referring to the podcast.
Definitely try to get in when we can.
We've faced a lot of turmoil when it comes to scheduling recently, mostly on my behalf. I've done a lot of life adjustments. There's been a lot of chaos, and it hasn't been easy on my co-hosts at all.
We kind of record on a razor's edge of we will record a week or two before the actual episode airs. We do try to get a little bit more ahead, but sometimes life comes at you fast.
In a perfect world, we'll record about once a month for 2 episodes at a time, and then that'll give Joe plenty of time to edit things. And if anything big happens where we need to make an emergency podcast, we'll try to coordinate the best we can to get something out like that. Like whenever the bracket system was introduced and modified, those are things we want to get to y'all as quickly as possible, just so you have that information. But yeah, it's usually once or twice a month, just depending on, because we have that bi-weekly schedule. So that's usually how we go about doing things. Next one, who are your favorite content creators in Magic outside of yourselves?
What? We can't say us?
Nope.
Damn. I can definitely say that the One More Mana crew, I love those guys. Every time that I see them at the conventions, they are always fun to play with. They play at a higher power level within bracket 3 still, so that you can still have that fighting chance. And they also play just some of the weirdest cards. But then there's everybody in the lobby pristine. I have been interacting with them for the longest time, and then was lucky enough to become one of the featured creators, bringing in the fact that I have 2 co-hosts outside of this to also promote our stuff, shouting out the entirety of the lobby pristine as well. They are one of my favorite Discords and filled with my favorite creators.
For me, it's kind of varied over the years. When I first started playing Commander, I think with a lot of people, like Command Zone was definitely the spot to go. They were kind of the pioneers for this type of thing. Obviously, the Tolarian Community College, some other ones, like they did like Magic products, and it was a lot of standard and modern, strictly Commander stuff. Command Zone definitely led the way with that, and hats off to them for that, absolutely. As of now, I think my favorite content creators that I see is the Magic Mirror podcast. So that's 3-3 Elk, Celebrity Snail, and Trinket Mage together. I think that their conversations, they do a fantastic job going into detail on things. And EDH Trekcast. I'm a little biased because I write there, but that's always been a podcast that I've really enjoyed. I think that Joey, Matt, and Dana do a fantastic job with all of their shows and the guests they bring on. So those are 2 episodes. Like, try not to miss the episodes during the week if I can avoid it. So those are definitely my 2 favorite podcast shows, creations. And of course, trying casually, if I get a chance to watch some of their streams, always love to watch that. Homebrew Deck Tech, those as well. There's a lot of really good creators right now. It's double-edged sword because there's so much talent out there, but also it kind of dilutes it for everybody because there's just so much to watch. But there's just a lot of really amazing people in this space.
Absolutely. Some of my favorites would include the Commander from Home crew. I enjoy their content. They're very straightforward. We've got to see them in person, and it's one of the few interesting times where the person's cooler than they are on the show. Maldhound is on my top bracket of content creators I love to see. I enjoy his creativity. Watching his content, I feel like he and I would get along quite splendidly just based off of personalities. And a lot of smaller named ones that I can't remember off the top of my head. There is I can't remember the name of the channel, but I'll try to find it so that we can post it here instead of me just rambling about it. They do rules questions. They go over complicated stacks, how the layers work. Also, one of my favorite content creators. Just a lot of interesting makers in the space who try to do something either really funny or really, really intuitive.
Next one, favorite moment as a content creator. We'll start with Joe.
Recently, I was at Commander Sealed, and I was able to be one of the featured matches because I decided to brew my deck of Marina Vendrell with Gigantha Companion, which doesn't sound too out of the ordinary unless you are doing this in an actual sealed pool where you have 15 packs of random set packs, have a build pod of 3 other people that you can trade with, build a deck, 100 card singleton, go. Being in that featured match was definitely one of my favorite things to do, and especially since that entire thing was for charity, and that entire event raised $81,000 for Trevor Project and Trans Lifeline.
It is nice being in a space that we're able to create our time for charity in some capacity. We've done charity streams and stuff in the past. I'm pretty sure I've got one coming up. At some point, I'll put the dates on Blue Sky whenever you have the chance with the Angel Project with Unsummoned Skull. They're putting something together with that. But it's just awesome to be able to do things like that. For me personally, because we've done it a couple times now where we've hosted panels at MagicCon. We're not doing one at Atlanta this time just because the schedule for me is going to be very, very weird. My wife's going to be there on the first day, and then I might be leaving early on the final day to go to the Atlanta Falcons game that's literally next door.
And also, unfortunately, one of our members, aka me, just could not make it this time to the Atlanta trip.
Jacoby, your favorite moment as a content creator?
My favorite moment as a content creator is getting random appearances across our media, be it that I randomly show up on a stream when we actually talk about this content, the panels, etc. Going forward, one of my favorite things is when we plan to make different styles of content, something we have in the works that I've been slowly trying to work out the build with. We're planning another thing in correlation with just the podcast where we do a show, like an actual show, to demonstrate fun, interesting modifications to formats together.
Similar to my Tuesday twists for streaming.
I won't spoil what it is because we haven't really finished the format, the idea yet, but it involves all of us and a guest getting in a game, doing something that I don't think anyone has really figured out how to do yet, trying to put a twist on it and have some fun.
Next one, what would be your dream collaboration? And this could be for a stream, for the podcast. Start with Jacoby.
The dream, you say? Dream collab, huh? I think my dream collab is, unfortunately, a little bit of a cop-out answer. Getting someone like Maldhound on the format I just tried to describe.
Absolutely fair. Because I'm pretty sure that for me, the dream would either be game nights or extra turns, whichever they had chosen, or shuffle up and play. Because truthfully, with shuffle up and play, you can actually bring in and say, I had this twist on the game. Do you want to try it? And then pitch one of the emblems that I made for Twist Tuesdays. Because I think that'd be fun.
I think the only reason I didn't pick someone like Game Nights is because a lot of the things I have in mind don't function for both Josh, Lee Kwai, and Jimmy. They're great people, and I would love to have that opportunity, but I just got mauled out on the mind.
For me, obviously, the Great Late Sheldon Menery would have been an amazing one to do a collaboration with. So I think for me, it'd probably be like a founder of Magic, like Richard Garfield or Mark Rosewater or something. Would be definitely one of mine. Someone who like built this shit up from the ground up. For that, I think that'd be a really amazing experience to be able to have them on and talk about stuff during the game. And I think it'd be incredible. Or even just during a podcast, interviewing like, what's your mind with all of this?
I will say with that, we could also have brought in Gavin Duggan, who is in fact one of the RC members that still does the OG Commander stream from the Commander staple, which used to be just the rules committee for Commander Discord.
I enjoy Gavin. Gavin's pretty awesome.
Next one here. What is your favorite Magic set of all time? I'll start out with this one. I think that when kind of came back to Dominaria, the first time Dominaria, the set with like Voltronta, I think that was probably my favorite set. With introduced a lot of the historic stuff. That was when Sagas first made the appearance. There was a lot of really interesting things in that set as far as like a standard legal set goes. For me, I think that would probably be my favorite.
I have two answers because I have a Universes Beyond answer and then a regular answer.
Go for it.
Everyone who knows me knows that Final Fantasy is literally it's the key to my soul. You go, oh, this is Final Fantasy themed, and I stop you and say no more. I already love it. If you asked me what is my non-universes set, it's a struggle between Infinity and the Horizons stuff. My favorite commander came out of a Modern Horizons set, Quark with any partner. Some of my most interesting deck techs involved some of the cards from Modern Horizons at some of the times. And one of my favorite recent commanders is from an Infinity set, which is Magar.
I know that for me, I definitely love Strixhaven. I can't wait till we go back. It's where we got Cody, but also just the different kinds of flavors that they did for that kind of Magic setting was really inherent to me, as well as Duskmourn. Duskmourn aesthetically fits so well with me and a whole bunch of other spooky people. And then you also combine that with Bloomborough. I am a multifaceted person, and if you tell me what my favorite sets is, I'm going to rattle off like maybe 5.
Well, Bloomborough Duskmourn was the Magic equivalent of Barbie Oppenheimer.
And you know what? It works. It's great. I love it.
I definitely stand with you on Strixhaven for sure, because some of my favorite support for a lot of archetypes I love to play came out of that set.
It's really hard for me to narrow down a very specific set because a lot of it is just the combination of individual cards that I would just love to play with and build around with and stuff like that. I am so entrenched in Magic.
And then minor shout out to Edge of Eternity. So that was a set that I wasn't super excited for, but the longer we've been kind of removed from it, the more cards I'm like, oh, that would be good in this deck, or that'd be good in this deck. So definitely pattern impact. Even Brago got like 4 upgrades from that one set, which is, I'm lucky to get one from a set. It's incredible. Next one, favorite non-commander format. Should be pretty straightforward. I'll start it out. Definitely Pauper. The meta stays pretty consistent. Bans happen when they need to. I love playing fairy/ninjas as far as Mono Blue doing tempo chip damage things. But it's incredibly fun. Lower price. You could build top of the line deck for about $100 if you like wanted to just go crazy expensive. You can build stuff for a lot cheaper too. I think it's best Magic format out there as far as like constructed, in my opinion. Jacoby.
Is Two-Headed Giant a cop-out answer? It doesn't even count. I
don't
wish.
think so.
Given the fact that you can do Two-Headed Giant with multiple formats, it's not a cop-out answer.
Good, because that is the answer. I don't care what we're doing. I don't care if it's 60-10. We take commander decks. I want Two-Headed Giant. Give me my teamwork. Any cards.
And for me, a lot of the formats that I've delved into have been what could have just been spawned from Commander. But of all of them, Pilot is definitely one of the biggest ones I will shout out as a fun time. A different way to build decks, specifically by just having any creature with any vehicle or mount, as long as the power of the creature equals the crew or saddle cost of the vehicle or mount. That's where you have your color combinations. It has a very healthy ban list. Bans all reserved list cards immediately, so you're not even worried about those. Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, a lot of the fast mana immediately out the gate because Arcane Signet was already voiced as a mistake by the Commander Design Department. They were not going to put out and just accept their mistake. And it's an 80 card format instead of a 100 card. The games that I've played have been very interesting, and you can have very interesting build combinations, such as Henzi Toolbox Tori and Imposter Mech, Blitz clones. What if all of your clones cost 2 mana and then just went away temporarily? Pilot is such a fun format, and I will always extol its virtues.
Next one, what card in your collection means the most to you? Start with Joe.
It absolutely is my altars that I've gotten 4 cards. So my Modfly Cody that has my face on it that I use in so many different promotional materials. My Halden and Paco that is Mega Man and Rush with the Robot Masters. And Mega Man's throwing a frisbee to Rush for the fetch. The altars are, in fact, where I live and thrive for a lot of my collection. And then because we did it, another one that means the most and stays on my desk is, in fact, the signed artist proof thought vessel that we got in Vegas.
Definitely one of those that I encourage everyone to get done as well, because they only have a limited number of those. And it's just definitely special to have an artist proof of the card that your podcast is named off of. A card that might be the most to me, I've got 2 that I've gotten signed by people outside of the world of Magic that were kind of just really random in my collection. One is in my CDH deck, which is my Pip-Boy Soul Ring that I got signed by Walton Goggins, who plays the Ghoul on the Fallout TV show, which he was the spokesperson for Vault-Tec. I really enjoyed that one. And then the second one is my Alexios commander, which is signed by Chuck Norris, which I waited in line for 3 hours to be able to meet him and get him to sign it. He was very confused, but it was worth it. And that deck's always really fun. So those are probably the 2 that mean the most to me. And then possibly the Sheldon Menery signed token that was gifted to us after we played a game of Commander, but that isn't technically a card. We'll go with that one.
The Sheldon Menery token is definitely up there for me. I love our proofs, but right now the most important card to me, I'd say right now it would be my silly little edited Heir Apparents. I had to move a lot recently a number of times. And before getting to leave my very good friends here on the podcast, my D&D group got together and they made me this Heir Apparent Balin deck. And each single card has Unfinity stickers on them. I've got some with swirly hats. I've got one with a top hat. One is roasted. One has a gigantic mustache. Absolutely love those cards.
Next one, if you could design a Magic the Gathering mechanic, what would you do? I'll go ahead and start this one out. I'm definitely a Blink player. I like playing Blink. Getting Warp as a mechanic was really cool, having an alternative casting cost and it gets exiled, you can cast it later. Or you could be a dirty cheater and just bring it in for its warp cost, blink it, and it stays. It would be really interesting to design a mechanic where if you play it and it's cast, it does one thing, and then if it enters the battlefield and it wasn't cast, it does a separate thing. And then trying to build a commander to kind of work and facilitate between, I want to put it back to my hand so I can recast it to get this effect, or I want to blink it and get something entirely different. That'd be kind of a cool mechanic to work off of. And you could do a lot of different things with that, and you can put it in a lot of different colors. And that was something that I would want to try to do. Jacoby.
I would probably make a mechanic that lets spells after they resolve animate themselves as creatures. The idea of your casts giving life to themselves into the point of countered your spell, there's a residual magic 2/2 little construct. Or I used this destroy artifact or enchantment spell and now it grew into a tree and it's like an ent or whatever. A mechanic that would either separately or additionally be like, when this resolves or from the graveyard, pay this, it now becomes a creature.
I could see that being, as it resolves, return it to the battlefield flipped as a whatever creature. When it deals damage, you can then cast the spell again.
Yes, exactly. Rhaegar had a lot of influence on that particular mechanic idea. I really loved the idea of doing it.
Whereas for me, I've definitely had different ideas for cards individually, going through just theory crafting and Magic. For me, I think the most prominent one that I will always tell people, because it is based off of my favorite card in Magic, we need more Teferi's Puzzle Box effects. I would love to see a Howling Mine effect of you draw an extra card, but then you take one of the cards from your hand at random to put it to the bottom of the library instead of the graveyard. I find that fun because I am a chaos person that loves chaos.
You should cast a wheel on turn 1 to see how everyone likes it.
I have, in fact, in a game of CDH, in seat 1.
The audacity.
That's how you do it.
So not a good time for the rest of the table. CDH, you got to do what you got to do. I did that one time with, I think, a Locust God. Table was not a fan. That was in 2019, so a little ways back. But next one is, what is your favorite weird Magic card?
Spark doesn't count, does he?
I guess it counts. Twin Flames aren't like a normal thing.
The idea of going, we're going to figure out if I do these spells. So you go, oh, are you going to stab me? Perhaps.
I am very much a fan of croaking counterpart. Just the fact that you can copy someone's creature, but it's a 1/1 frog instead is hilarious. And especially when you're playing on Arena in Brawl and someone's, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the Shieldred the Apocalypse and you're going to hate it. And you just go, I also have one? What are we doing here?
Wrecked.
You do not need to beat your opponents with other cards. Just beat them with their own. They will not know what to do.
I think mine is probably another Sheldon Menery special, Brina the Demagogue. Very long-winded way of saying is if you attack an opponent that's not the person who owns the Brina, that player does not have the lowest life total. The attacking player draws a card, you get 2+1 counters on a creature you control. If Brina does it, you get both. I think just having little deals in play, you don't have to politic. The terms are defined. They're on the table. There's no sneaky way to kind of lawyer your way into a better situation. I think it's a very fascinating card. It does help that it's an owl, and I love owls. But I think it's a fantastic card. I've played it as a commander for a long time. I took that deck apart, possibly put it back together at some point in the future. But I think it's probably one of my favorite weird cards they put into decks. And then finally, the last question, where do you see the direction of the podcast? Joe?
I see us continuing and going above and beyond, finding more interesting ways to bring information, more interesting discussions, especially with the ever-changing environment on the game, as well as our own experiences within competitions and the like, where we gain more knowledge and therefore can change our opinion, bring forth a more informed opinion, and stuff exactly like that.
I think our future, as far as what I think about, is the continuation of the podcast in all of its obvious forms, but working on some of these interesting formats that I'm chopping at the bit to discuss, but I just don't want to name it. I don't want to jump the gun quite yet. Getting more well-knit into our communities, trying to get people to gather up and do something fun, and doing stuff as a trio with other people.
I see this expanding beyond the podcast, possibly at some point trying to do some gameplay videos or building up a Discord where people can come and play together and share ideas. We're all big fans of the alternative formats like Archenemy and Two-Headed Giant, being able to work more on those. I think that there's a lot of other spaces that it can go outside of what we're currently doing. We'd love to hear your ideas in the comments too of stuff that you'd like to see, whether it's from us or other people in the community. But I think just be able to expand into more of a community rather than just a show. But that is all the questions that we have. Just wanted to wrap this up here. If you wanted to have a question that you didn't quite get into the episode, feel free to leave it and we could answer it in the comments below. Thank you so much for sticking with us wherever you started. Now that we're at 50 episodes, about 2 years in. Any other final comments?
The thought keeps Vesselin, Vesselin, and Vesselin, Vesselin, and Vesselin, Vesselin, and Vesselin, Vesselin. Stuff like that.
I don't care that my token doesn't have thumbs. Give him bunny ears.
Why can't I pick up this cup? It is because you have plastic bunny ears, sir. I don't care! Give me that cup!
I don't know where to go from here. This has been the Thought Vessel. You have a fantastic rest of your day. I'm Levi.
I'm Jacoby.
And I'm Joe.
Goodbye.
Take care.
Give me pictures of bunny fingers!